What's up? I'm Drew Paul Bell, and today what I want to talk about is life outside of architecture school. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of context, I graduated from architecture school about 8 or 9 months ago. It's now December and I graduated back in May. Also, the documentary ArchiCULTURE was just released, so that's kind of inspiring this video, as well as a question a friend of mine asked the other day. He said, do you miss architecture school? And I told him no, I don't miss architecture school. And I've said in the past that architecture is the best education that money can buy. And I stand by that. But I want to make a distinction between things that make you happier and things that make you less sad. Being out of architecture school, I always thought that having graduated, it would make my life just tremendously better. It would just be like a rush, walking through the world, and I'd be more enlightened and just fulfilled, and I thought it was going to make me happier. And it's not quite everything I've built up in my head to be. You know, it's still really awesome, but more importantly than that, right? I think it's more about being less sad rather than more happy. But architecture made me pretty sad, alright? So it made me like 90% less sad. And to me, I think that's absolutely worth it. Like, that's great. I'm not complaining about that. And then on top of that, I'm lucky enough to work at a firm where I do work that I'm really inspired by and stuff that it does reward me, the work that I get to do. But I saw the video ArchiCULTURE, the documentary, and it seems like it reminded me of what happens in architecture school. And in architecture school, I feel like it's such a dark place. It's so challenging. There's this constant looming need of challenge and expectations that students are expected to go through. And it's sort of like what you hear about the military, which is that it beats you down to build you back up again. And I think that in that space, in that place that's so dark, any little light seems like it's brighter than it actually is. So you see in ArchiCULTURE in the documentary, people talking about how great and inspiring this event is, right? Studio. And there's a large element of truth to that. But is not quite as glorious as what people want to believe it is. Okay? What I mean by that is it's the same kind of experience that you have in your designs where there's this one little aspect of your building where you know it's not going to work. It's a little fuzzy, right? But you don't want to go study that in depth and realize it doesn't work, because then you're going to have to change everything, right? So you just kind of want to just draw it and just kind of pretend, right? I'll deal with that later. Yeah, it'll probably work out. I'll make something happen. Right, so you kick it off to the side, you kick the can down the road, and you keep wanting it to work, right? Because you want it to work really bad. And you keep thinking it will, and you don't want to look into it anymore, and then you leave it a little bit unclear, and then the jurors call you on it. And they know exactly why it's not going to work. That same concept happens in school, where you want it to be better than it really is. You want this relationship to work out, but it's not. It's not quite as awesome as what we like to think it is. Now, that being said, this is a very paradoxical kind of point. Even though it's not as glorious as they make it sound, it's still worth it. There's still a lot of greatness in it. It's just not as bright as what everyone likes to think. So, and I think that is very similar to the same thing that we see in people, right? You look at somebody who's had to overcome a lot of trials and tribulations, who has had to struggle with things in life, and more often than not, they're a lot more relatable than that guy who had rich parents and had everything handed to him, and that doesn't have any challenge in his life, and thinks he's entitled to everything, you know? So architecture, I stand by what I've said before, which is that architecture school is the best education you can buy, because I believe that. But I think that it's a little bit different though than what everyone the way everyone explains it. Okay, and it's complicated. It's complicated even for me looking at it. But I just hope that in giving this perspective, that it can help enlighten you about what it is like in school, what it's like outside of school, and, you know, just moving into the world of architecture. So, let me know what you think about this. Are you in school right now? What are your expectations of life outside of school? Have you graduated from school? how did the real world differ from your expectations of what you thought architecture would be like from inside the academy? All right, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. I really want to hear your ideas. I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you next time.